it's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have our usual suspects of AD or Alpha Dean. We have Spigs 18 or Anthony. And just as a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It is a great help to our channel. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate all the support you've given us thus far. But Dean, what are we doing here tonight?
Well, you know what? Tonight is just going to be a nice, laid back, chill night. It's been a busy. Everybody's had life stuff going on. And, we did have an interview set up for today, but that person had to cancel. They weren't feeling well. So, that'll come up later. So we're just going to talk about all the things that are going on with MCG right now. The fact that we just finished a great crowdfunding project, the fact that they announced another one that looks like it's probably going to be massive. We're going to talk about, whatever, and open the doors if, you guys out there want to ask us some questions. So that's what's going on. And I'm going to toss the ball to Anthony right now so we can get this thing started.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Welcome to the CU. I feel like we were on last week, but it feels like we haven't been on in a while, which is weird because I know we had a show last week. So yeah, pretty much what Dean said. We're just gonna relax. It's like Netflix and chill, but see you and chill instead. We're just gonna sit back, relax, and just talk about all. There's been a lot of exciting stuff happening with not only Monica Games, Cypher System, all sorts of crazy stuff. So we figure we'll just touch on all the topics and see what sticks, what's interesting, and maybe answer some questions from the chat. We'll figure it out as we go along. Like Dean said, we had an interview scheduled, but shit happens, stuff happens, and we had a cancellation, so we didn't want to just not do a show. So here we are. So the first thing I'm gonna bring up is how was the winner of The Price is Right? Here was a Cypher System, what you call it, guess, because the final number was 711,366, 700,000 and
711,000.
Yeah, 711,366. They ended up with 4,559 backers, and Al was the closest without going over. Jason, you missed it by that much. The 1 billion just didn't make it. But Al's final guess was 689,064. And he was the closest without going over.
So yeah, sorry everyone that Anthony did say if anybody beat us, that would be the reward, and we won. So, yeah, I did watch a lot of The Price is Right growing up, so I think it paid off.
First of all, let's just talk about that. Were you surprised at the final number? Oh, and we actually missed out on the mini bestiary, which was 750,000.
725.
Kind of cool. What?
I thought it was 725.
No, 750,000. I just right before the show went to the.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the mini bestiary would have been cool, but I mean, I think this was a great crowdfunding I mean, I'm not disappointed in anything that we got. As a matter of fact, I'm totally stoked. The fact that the way they're referencing the bestiary is that it's going to be more than just creatures, where they're going to be talking about factions and hideouts and all that kind of stuff. I think that's freaking awesome. Just another perspective to keep growing the Cypher system and showing you its flexibility, its elegance. I think it was a great crowdfunding.
I mean, at the end of the day, they raised $700,000 on essentially a starter kit, 2 setting books, and a bestiary. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that.
And you got to remember, the bestiary was the first stretch goal. The bestiary was not even the initial book. That was just the first stretch goal.
Yeah, it was nice. Again, what Anthony said, like essentially what was the base product, was pretty nice, but the stretch goals were very nice. So we got the bestiary, we got the Adventures in Cypher System book, or was that part of the base thing?
That was Adventures in Cypher System was also stretch goal.
Yeah, and that's gonna be amazing.
The Avengers in Cypher System, a deck,
Yeah.
The bestiary, the poster maps, the expansions on the books. I mean, it was great. It was awesome. So,
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, yeah, the base was the deluxe edition, the starter set, and the 2 setting books.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I was just gonna say that considering what it was, like you said, they raised a pretty good amount of money. And I guess my guess was the closest, so I was pretty close to what they actually made.
And you were still 20K under.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be
30
over 700.
30.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to go over 700K. I'm not gonna lie. They really, the backers really pushed it in that last, couple hours there, or last hour even. But yeah, it was nice to see. They definitely. I haven't seen Charles talk about it. I haven't looked around, but if what he was saying before is any indication, like this was a spectacular Kickstarter for what it was, or excuse me, backer kit.
Yeah. First off, go ahead, D.
No, I was just literally gonna go and you speaking of that, moving to the next topic. But go ahead. You're right. If you were still talking about this.
Yeah. What you call it? Me personally, I think it goes without saying. MCG sort of has the backer kit, the crowdfunding. They have the formula, and if you basically look at pretty much the last 3 years worth of crowdfunded projects, they understand how to drive an audience, how to keep an audience attention, how to get an audience to be excited about a project, and they're pretty much the gold standard outside of Critical Role, and when it comes to crowdfunding a RPG book.
I mean, if you think about it, you just said the mouthful. It's the gold standard. It's the quality of the product that they put out. I think between the fact that they do a hell of a job engaging their fan base, but we also know that we're gonna get, they don't drop off in quality. I'm not going to mention the other company's name, but there's another company out there that puts out lots of books, but the last few books I bought have been lacking. Major league. I can't say that about the last few books I've gotten from MCG.
Yeah, I mean, they just know how to do it right. And like I said, pretty much if we were Cypher Unlimited, I would still be backing after everything leveled, no matter what. Because you get a bang for your buck, and you don't have that uncertainty of, is this project going to be fulfilled? Because it always is. It's like the rain; it always comes. Death and taxes and MCG's
they deliver
coming in the mail. That's it goes hand in hand. So
yeah, it's always quality. Always, like it's always good stuff.
Right.
Yes. Samuel Kaufman asked about when's the next chance for an interview. We haven't done a Friends of Cypher Unlimited stream in a while. I'll put that on our list. And we haven't done one of those in a while either, where we brought on a lot of people in chat.
Yeah, we can do that. That'd be a good idea. I mean, it'd be good for the new year. We haven't done it for the new year yet.
I could think of already a few people to invite out for that.
Come on now, don't be taking me back to the '80s, man. I love the '80s music. He put down the line from the song Africa.
And with the talk of backer kit, right? MCG just announced another one, and I am not gonna lie, I do not know this podcast at all. But the Magnus Archives, it's done by Rusty Quill. Anybody know anything about this? I know it's an interview-based podcast, which is kind of weird, and it's horror. if I'm not mistaken.
So I don't know if Dean, do you know anything about it? Have you listened to it?
I actually just started listening to it once I saw this announcement. But
So
go ahead.
you probably know more than me, but either way, I spoke about it on the server like basically right after the announcement happened. What you call it? My husband Leo, um, he's super into this podcast, like super duper into it, and he told me some stuff that's like spoilers for the story, and it's bonkers sounding, and it's gonna be very interesting. Like it definitely. Again, I don't want to say too much without. I don't want to say spoilers, right?
Well, how you gonna spoil
It's
it?
not a spoiler.
No,
Don't
no,
nobody know about it.
No, it's again. People might be listening to it for the first time, and I don't want to spoil
No,
because
no, no. But
the
what's
twist
the
sounds
premise?
crazy.
Let's start from the beginning.
All right, so premise,
What's the premise?
the
'Cause I have
premise,
no- I
as
don't
I've been
know.
told, it's an anthology of stories told by a narrator, and it leads into a crazy supernatural, like excuse me, not supernatural, like eldritch horror, like
Yeah.
type twist, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. Again, that's my understanding of it without divulging too many spoilers.
Basically,
Maybe somebody for chat could tell me, but what?
basically, it's
Okay.
basically the premise of it is that, like Al said, it is an anthology of stories, but what it is the Magnus Archives. They are archives of all of these strange things that supposedly have happened or have happened. And what it does is open you up to the cosmic horror of the universe. It's pretty damn solid. And what's kind of crazy is if you really think about it, you could plug this into the modern day version of Old Gods of Appalachia. It literally is.
I mean, before we even get into like its application, I'm still a little confused. And someone online told me it was an interview based podcast. So that isn't accurate. Like they interviewing supernatural, because that's what someone told me online. It was.
Well, it's sort of kind of like that, but
it
it's
sounds different from what your guys are saying.
Well, we'll put it this way. Lord and Lady just put it here. She said the Magnus Archive is a weekly horror fiction anthology podcast examining what lurks in the archives of the Magnus Institute, an organization dedicated to researching the esoteric and weird. Join the new head activist, Jonathan Sims, as he attempts to bring a seemingly neglected collection of supernatural statements up to date, converting them to audio and supplementing them with follow-up work from his small but dedicated team. So that's what it is. You know, whether they're doing something with an interview, whether they're doing something where they're just relating the story, however, it literally is, just that. It's basically them going through the archives at the Institute.
So it's someone reading the archive notes. Is that what it is?
Correct.
Okay. Now, how is that going to translate into RPG? I'm just wondering. And the other note I wrote down that I had wrote down is this actually might be bigger because it's actually a bigger podcast than
Old Gods.
Old Gods.
So this might be a bigger, I already said it might be a bigger one, but the way it will translate to.
I mean, numbers wise, it's a bigger podcast.
Right.
It's like close to 2 million downloads.
2.5 million.
Yeah.
But no, what I was saying is
12 million total downloads.
You were asking how it would translate. Are you talking about how it would translate to an RPG? It's very simple. You'd be members of the team, in the Magnus Institute. You'll be a person who works at the Magnus Institute or someone who gets affected by the Magnus Institute. It's not hard to see how it would, translate.
Sorry, I got a little distracted by the chat there talking about a game I've been obsessed with. But what KedHub said is how I imagined it. I don't know if Dean just said this because, again, I blanked for a second. But the way my husband described the first season was, again, a collection of stories told by the narrator, the archives. And the way I see it in a Cypher system or RPG setting, whatever, is you play out the archives. Like you literally create the archives that this dude is reading. Like you play it in real time and then it becomes an archive in a book or whatever, like in the archives of the Institute or whatever. That would be an easy way to do it. Again, I don't know where the story goes after that because apparently it gets kind of wild, and I don't know if it keeps up with that anthology format past season 1. But yeah, again, that is a way I could see
I'm not
it.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's going to be like you members of the team or whatnot, because if they did that, it's kind of a little too close to the strange, the state. Like,
So
You know what? It is, but it isn't. The estate, I mean, that's a trope that's in so many games. That's a
no,
trope that's
but I understand what you're. First of all, we don't know the answer.
right. We
So,
don't know the answer, but I'm just saying that
and one
concept.
thing I do know about MCG is that they don't like to be even close to what the last game is.
So when you think about it though, you think about the estate, the concept of a organization that basically studies the paranormal, unknown, crazy, whatever, has been around, and it's in so many things.
But what I'm getting from what your guys are telling me, and from what the chat and from what the bio is, it's not the organization that's the lore of this podcast. It's the stories that are being narrated, told, is what
Right.
the lore of the thing is. So
Right.
I'm not sure if they're gonna go the route of the organization, but or concentrate on the cool stories.
So
you got to think about it for a minute. I mean, you're going to need a structure. The institute is going to be the structure. They're going to have stuff in the archives, but here's the thing with that. What that's going to turn into, and it depends on if that's what they're going for, it will be like tons of stuff that they'll be able to offer if they just want to offer the individual stories as possible adventures. You know.
And I will say this as another possibility. You could also be, oh, excuse me, the analogy of the strange and whatnot is kind of similar, but the way I more see it is more like Men in Black / SCP. Like, again, maybe not aliens, but whatever. And those are organizations that track the weird or whatever. And this just came to mind, another way I could see this playing out within Cypher System is you actually play as an agent going out to investigate these anomalies, these weird, whatever have yous. Yeah, it's definitely...
Dean, it's a joke.
Definitely gonna be interesting. I'm definitely very excited to see where they go, especially because I don't want to say any spoilers or anything, but there seem to be a lot of weird entities that I feel like that is spoilers. A lot of weird entities that seem interesting, and I'm definitely excited to read / hear more about them.
Well,
yeah,
like I said,
trying to say Men in Black meets Lovecraft.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Think about it. You got X-Files, Men in Black, Fringe, like he was saying, SCP, the BPRD, all of those concepts, all of those things. Of course, the estate with the strange, all to me scream for what this is. But the difference is where the strange was focused on, the dark network, the dark matter network, where everything was going on in the collective imaginations of humanity and so on and so forth. This is going a different direction and dealing in, the unexplainable, the cosmic horror, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I actually have to listen to the podcast, to be honest, because to be honest, I know absolutely nothing. First of all, I didn't even think this was as popular as it was until I started doing a little quick research, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of people that follow this. I know nothing of it.
As far as the popularity goes, I'll just put it this way, right? Us three, we kind of, me, I guess I should speak about myself personally. I look at Montica Games news or whatever have you, right? We follow Backer Kit news, whatever have you, right? My husband heard about the news about the Magnus Archives before me, and then came to me excitedly like, oh my God, Montica Games just announced this thing. It's that huge. He excitedly was like, oh my God, you're going to be you might interview them. Like, oh my God, it's that, he's that high. It must be very good for him to be that excited about it.
What's crazy is like what you're talking about, Al. I wasn't familiar with it till I saw the thing. And so when I saw it, of course, jumped on bandwagon to check it out. I had seen like advertisements that comes across my Spotify feed and stuff like that for different podcasts to listen to. But I'll be listening to so many different things. I'll be like, I'll get to it. But yeah, I mean, I've had people, at the game store today were talking about, hey, they said Money Cook's doing Magnus Archives. I'm like, yeah, they just announced it. So
what do you guys think of this strategy of building with IPs that are podcast based and have an established audience? Because now this is their second go round with this, and we haven't had a chance to get Old Gods in our hands yet, but this is the second time they've arranged acquiring an IP for the RPG through a popular podcast. Well, what do you guys think of this strategy?
I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a power move when you really consider it. When you think about the fact that they're basically picking up, IPs with a built-in fan base. And then what all that does is turn around and introduce people to Cypher system and the plethora of things that they already got. I mean, just look at what happened, with the kerfuffle with Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. Look at the number of people, and then you look at what Old Gods of Appalachia.
I mean, how do those two things are related?
I'm just saying, when you look at it, the Old Gods of Appalachia, the number of people that came in, the big influx, and then, you couple that with the thing with Wizards of the Coast, it's like, yeah, I think people are going to really be interested in what's going on, is what I'm saying.
And we touched on this kind of in one of our videos a while ago. I forget which one it was, like things we want to see from MCG and things we don't want to see, or something along those lines. And something we mentioned was pairing up with big IPs. But mind you, we were talking about things like Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. But this is kind of like the gateway to that. You start with the smaller big IPs, and then you can maybe, show off, hey, we can make this work. Look how much money we made pushing this IP. Like, it's kind of again, I don't know if they're aiming to do that, like to get like one of the huger IPs that a lot of people know, but this is like a stepping stone to that. It's like, hey, let's show that we can be successful doing that, and then we can pitch the idea to like, maybe some of these like major IPs.
What I think I like about this strategy, right? One, it's like Jason put in chat. It's when you reach out to establish IPs that have over 1 million downloads, or in this case they do 2 million a month or whatever it is, right? It saves on the marketing budget, and for some reason, and I could be wrong, but I feel like they hitting target audiences that are not necessarily role players to begin with. Like, so it's not only are they reaching out to the like Old Gods of Appalachia, and I could be wrong, but I think that it's at least a 50-50 split of people that like the podcast but don't play RPGs, and their first RPG will be Monty Cook Gang Cypher System.
Yep, I agree.
So I really like, like reaching out for IP from an obscure source or from just a podcast forms. I think it's like Dean said, it's kind of brilliant. Like it's a different marketing strategy than I think other companies would have took. And I think if this one is really successful, I think you're going to see a lot of other companies start to follow suit and kind of, like with success breeds copycats.
Kid Hub made a good point in the chat where he said that people from podcasts are probably likely to be the more narrative crowd, that we want to see in Cypher anyway, rather than the wargaming people or simulationist people. So again, it's just levels of nuance that we're looking at, and as we discuss it, we get to see the brilliance of what they're doing over there. Like you said, it's a.
But I will say that you'll see copycats, because anytime you're successful in any field, when you're successful using a specific strategy that most people don't do, of course, other people are going to follow suit, and that's just small business.
I mean, it's been proven. You see, I mean, prime example is Avatar. Avatar is a prime example of a built-in fan base. I mean, that was a Kickstarter that did $9 million. That's freaking unheard of. They like had, I think they said like 100,000 backers. This is just crazy.
Let's be honest though, with those big IPs, right? How many people stay though? Let's be realistic. Like I'll give you a perfect example. I backed Avatar, but I backed Avatar because I was just standing and the waves of people just came in. Like, like I was part of that wave of people like, oh, you got to back Avatar. Avatar's gonna have it's gonna have an RPG. But realistically, am I gonna really play that? I just got caught up in the excitement and the wave.
Well, look at it this way. I'll put it to you this way: two things. One, the established people who play PBTA games are all over it. They're definitely playing it. They're definitely pushing it. They do what they have their directed games every week.
Let me rephrase this. How much money do you think they're going to make beyond the money from the Kickstarter?
Well, I'll give you
a lot of Kickstarters. Let's keep it a buck. Right? There's a lot of Kickstarters that do great on the Kickstarter level, but don't get much response. Like Coyote and Crow will be an example.
Well, I'll give you an example.
They do great on the Kickstarter level, but beyond what was backed on the Kickstarter, their sales are not really.
Again, but like we were saying, the two things I wanted to point out to you, and you're talking about the difference between an established IP and a built-in fan base. Because what they did for Avatar, they did a very smart thing. They released the what you call it, the intro. What is it called? Freaking, my brain is not working.
I haven't heard anything beyond the Kickstarter.
No. What I'm trying to tell you is, oh my God.
And I'm not saying you're wrong.
Starter kit. That's what I meant. I couldn't get it out. My brain, I was going to brain freeze. But they just released a starter kit, but they released it exclusively at Target. I went to Target the day I got the email, the day it was released, got to Target. Before I went to Target, I put in for an order. They told me they had 40 copies of the playtest. When I got to Target 2 hours later, they had 4 copies left. So they're exclusively putting the playtest, the starter kit at Target for $25. Got to the game store with my starter kit that same day. Did not 10 people come into the store asking, do we have any copies of the starter kit at the game store? So I'm thinking, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
I'll have to look at I like to look at the actual financial numbers to see, because I do like, I'll give you a bigger IP than what you call it, what we were just talking about, a bigger IP than
Avatar.
The Avatar, Star Wars, Fantasy Flight did, burst through the gate like gangbusters. But the sales eventually, they went from when Star Wars, the first few sets came out, they went one from multi-million dollars. They went from the 5th best RPG company to 2nd, surpassing Paizo. And then after a while, after the initial shock, and eventually they dropped back down. And that's what I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying is that gonna happen with those it's like hard to sustain that big IP unless you have like great product, and who's gonna stay playing it? You know what I mean?
Again, I agree with you, but you got to remember, you again. I think you kind of talking about two different game bases, if you will, or not even game bases, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but to me it seems like fantasy has a ridiculous staying power that like a lot of sci-fi stuff doesn't. Star Trek, Star Wars, these games they've existed. They've been RPGs for 40 years, but they never seem to have the biggest appeal. Like basically,
maybe that's the issue. Maybe it isn't generic enough.
Yeah. And I think that because you look at any title that has a that has a core story that's already been told, the big story, those have a tendency to fall off. Lord of the Rings, prime example. Even though the One Ring is still doing good and it's been converted to 5e and this, that, and the third, it's still not as big as just going to get a Wizards of the Coast book.
Rogue Firefly brought up a great point. I think choosing an IP carefully based on its fan base is the appropriate way to move forward. There's so much Star Wars content still released that it's easy for an RPG to get pushed to the wayside unless they're being marketed by Disney themselves. Yeah, that's a great point. This is very interesting because I know that we said in the past, they need to get a big IP, but when I think about it, the big IP gives you that upfront cash, but is it sustainable? Is the question that I'm now asking. But most of those big IPs aren't sustainable.
But if you look at, but here's the beautiful thing though. If you look at what Monty Cook is doing, theirs is different.
Monty Cook is 1-2 books and they're done anyway.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. If you think about how they operate though, what MCG does is, okay, look at Old Gods of Appalachia. That brought in, 5, 7, 8,000, 9,000 people, whatever it is, however many people we got coming to the server. But all of a sudden, the same people that were talking about Old Gods are now talking about Stay Alive. Now they're talking about the other books and getting more into Cypher System. So the sustainability, I don't think, comes from that particular IP, but everything else they have in their library. I think that's what's happening, is that it's drawing people in order to make, bring awareness just to the RPGs in general and the system.
The system in general.
The system, yeah, exactly.
Because Powered by the Apocalypse is a different example because you have a lot of different companies building off of that rule set. So it isn't necessarily beneficial that one game is built off Powered by the Apocalypse to the other people. Like, you might inherently pick up fan base to your other Powered by Apocalypse game because a popular one is, but with Cypher System is different because since they control the majority of all their game settings, is like, hey, if you like this, then try this and try this. But MCG doesn't try to sustain any genre anyway, any setting anyway. They're going to give you the book and say, hey, do what you will.
Create your worlds.
Yeah, create your world.
Which is funny because I put that up there earlier today. Me and Al, we were talking in chat, and there was some guy on our Facebook, complaining, talking about, well, why don't they just, focus on the stuff that they already got? And I just kind of laughed. I was like, dude, that's not the MCG way. Yeah. MCG gives you, here, take this, do what you will with it. Now I'm going to bring you something else.
All right. Yeah. So, I like the way this conversation is heading. So what is the benefit of the MCG way and what's the con? Because the con is you get those people that I play Numenera and that's all I play, and I don't give two shits about Stay Alive or God Forsaken. I just want Numenera books, goddammit. It's the same concept with when we were having those discussions about with the Strange, right? And Dean, you kept on saying, oh, we don't need any more Strange. And Dean was getting the hate. We need Strange, me included. I was leading the Pitchfork Army. You guys remember that?
And you see, I stand in the middle of it and tell you, so what? I don't care. And I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But here's the thing. I don't think there's necessarily a con because MCG brings in enough new people and enough new people. Think of it this way.
Everything has a con. Everything has a pro and a con.
No. There is a con, but I'm saying, in my opinion, at the end of the day, it doesn't outweigh the pro, is what I'm saying. I'm saying the pro is, think of it this way. Let's just say, Old Gods of Appalachia brought in 1,000 new people to RPGs, and 20% of that 1,000 decided that, hey, oh shit, I want more Cypher System stuff. That's 200 people that weren't buying MCG stuff. Now you got that other 800 that just got on Old Gods of Appalachia. They made their money there. They did what they had to do. But now they got an additional 200 people that are out buying their products. How many people have we talked to on the server that said, "Oh man, I can't wait. I just got another order. I just got all the PDFs."
I mean, for the record, you know where I stand. I like to setting hop, genre hop as much as the next guy. But I could relate and I could feel empathy for those people, like the Invisible Sun crowd. Come on. Those people, 90% of the Invisible Sun players, that's what they play. On the server, they only come to the Invisible Sun channel, and for them to go like 2 years without any new material, and they're dying for it. You know what I mean?
But see, I argue that point too, because I've been, okay, prime example.
Dean, you can't use the argument you could create your own stuff, because we can say that about any game.
Listen to what I'm saying.
So that's not a valid argument.
No, it is a completely valid argument if that is the MCG way. If you look at what Monty has done, even with all the stuff that they've given us for Numenera, I think KedHub or Sir James had put up the map of Numenera, and it was crazy because there was like 3 little points on this massive map, this massive mass where they've actually defined stuff. MCG is the company that encourages you.
All right, Dean. All right, let me put this up. I'll put it this way, right? And once again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't want you to think that you're a huge Diamond Throw fan, right? Yep. You were shitload excited when matter of fact, you the one that came to me and said, "Yo, Diamond Throw is coming out. This is freaking awesome." If I was Dean, I'll be like, "Why do you need Diamond Throne? You got the 3.0 edition. You don't need Diamond Throne."
No, I didn't. I didn't need it, but I was extremely excited.
It didn't stop your excitement.
It didn't stop my excitement. It didn't stop me from applying for the job. It didn't stop me from working on it. It did.
No, so never will. You poo-poo the person that wants more.
You're missing my point. Look. I'm not poo-pooing on anybody who loves it or wants.
Oh, you understand what I'm saying, right?
So yeah, I was going to explain your point of view. So what Anthony is getting at, and he used a great example here with Invisible Sun. So what Dean is getting at is you can, like, for most Cypher products, you can make the stuff. You can write a book, you can look online, whatever have you. It's there for you. Invisible Sun's a little bit different. So it'll be in the same vein of like Stealing Story for the Devil, Dandy Dog, whatever the full title is. Like all their niche games that aren't specifically Cypher System. Those things could use more content. If people are playing those specific games and they want more, to work with from an official source, there's not much to go on. Like, and again, you can say, like, you can make it, you can find, third-party content creators, whatever have you, but that's not the same as an official product from the people who made the original thing. It's a completely different thing. And again, I'm not trying to shit on third-party content creators or anything like that. That they make amazing stuff regardless of Invisible Sun, whatever.
Third-party Invisible Sun stuff anyway.
That is true.
No. Here, look at it this way. Look at it this way, then, because I get what both of you are saying. I am not trying to take away from your point. The point I'm trying to get to is, let's look at Invisible Sun. You brought up, that's a perfect product to bring up. Invisible Sun.
That's the one that we hear the most complaints about.
But what I'm trying to say is, anybody who is really sitting down here talking about they're scrambling for more content for Invisible Sun, I really would be hard pressed to say unless.
You see, that's the thing. You view.
I mean, no. Listen to what I'm saying. Let me finish.
They want to read more content. They want absorb. I'm not saying that they don't have enough games to run with what's in the cube and what's out there. That's
and you got to think, wait a minute, no, because it's not just the cube. There's like 6 other books for Invisible Sun, 8 books. Mm-hmm. You cannot tell me that you've absorbed all of this and put it into play.
Dean, have you ever read a book and never played it?
Yes.
It still had the enjoyment of reading that book?
Absolutely.
It's no different. There is no different.
That's not what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about the people that tell me they need more content because they don't have enough to work with. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how you don't. And it's the same thing I say about Numenera. Numenera's got 10 years of content, but how many books do we got? 30 books? There's no freaking way you've explored every corner.
I 100% agree with that, but that doesn't stop people from wanting it.
Yeah, well, shit. I mean, let's be honest. People in the desert want ice water.
Yeah, and they should have water to drink.
People in hell want ice water. Let's put it that way. You're not always gonna get what you want.
Not sympathetic.
I'm not. I'm just not.
Look at the analogy. People in the desert want to drink water. Yeah, and I feel bad for them that they can't drink.
Fucking ice. Listen, but everybody don't get what they want.
Let them die of die of thirst.
Someone made a good point in the chat. There's been a lot of chatter, and I can't find it again. But they mentioned, I forget. I've already forgotten. There's a lot of chatter going on right now. But someone said, that it's nice that Monte Games has these niche games that have a dedicated player base or whatever have you. And again, this isn't verbatim. I'm just off memory. But making products for these niche games could hurt them in the long run, because again, it's a niche market. It's a niche group of people playing these games. So like, how many people are gonna buy this supplemental material they actually make for it?
Also too, let's just be realistic as well. They're not a big company.
Exactly.
Right.
They technically only have 5 designers. So they stretching themselves. I was just bringing it up because I like to get
that's another thing to look at, And I mean, like I said, you just look at it. I just look at it through the lens of what they're offering and the stuff that we do get. I haven't had a complaint yet. When anything that I pulled out that was Monty Cook related and it introduced people to, everybody loves it.
I mean, realistically, for the amount of content they do produce for the size of their team, is extraordinary. There's very few, 13 or 4. We're talking the entire company consists of
15 people.
15 people, right? So, and they produce, not count just what comes out every year, at least 5 or 6 books a year. That's pretty freaking amazing if you think about it.
Well, dude, let's think about it. Let's look at this. Look at this particular Kickstarter that just passed. This backer kit. Yes, okay, excuse me. So the deluxe edition of the book.
But we can't even do that because that's not coming out for years.
No. Look at it this way. What I'm saying though, Anthony. No, just look what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. I'm just using that as an example because it's fresh in everybody's mind. Mm-hmm. We push the deluxe edition to the side, and you're looking at 2 new genre books, a bestiary, and a book of adventures. That's 4 products right there. That's 4 major products, and we know, they're coming out over the course of the next couple of years or whatever, but we're still receiving stuff. We receive stuff every few months from MCG, so they're just cranking. They're killing, I love it.
It's kind of wild, the amount of stuff they put out, considering the size of their team. And the crazy part is, and again, the fact that they're doing it at all is crazy. But the even crazier part is it's always good stuff. Like it's never a disappointment. Again, I always like to bring up, because disappointment, transparency is Unmasked, but even that with time has gotten amazing. Like Unmasked is amazing now. Like if you go back to Yeah,
If you
again,
remember correctly, we never said it was a bad product. It was a great setting. We just were disappointed because we didn't get more powers.
exactly. And now that we have Claim the Sky, Unmasked is a banger. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And
Yeah.
speaking of which, too, guys, wanted to throw this out there too. I don't know if everybody knows it out there, but Sean K. Reynolds started a Patreon. He's doing a great little thing where he's converting third edition characters to 5e and Cypher and settings and stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there so everybody could, jump on the bandwagon. It is a great resource for creators. It's a great resource for GMs. It Trust me, go for it. Check it out. Sean K. Reynolds.
Find the link if you can.
I'll get the link. Give me a second.
All right. So yeah, we spoke about the Magnus Archives. I just jotted down a couple quick notes. Like Cypher System Rules Primer is on Roll20, y'all. Has anybody checked it out yet? And they also have a couple of adventures on Roll20. And I know that there's a big push. Everyone wants MCG to have a bigger VTT support. And this goes once again with what we said about the size of the team. MCG, and from someone that does project management as my, outside of gaming profession, I can understand this. That they want to be very careful with the licensing, and I know that hurts them in the short term. Why they don't have a bigger footprint and Foundry, and a lot of the stuff are done in-house by just players of those VTTs. But I'm telling you that that's one of the major reasons why you don't see MCG and every VTT out there, is because they're very careful they want to sign licensing deals. And I can't blame them for that. They're a small company and they want to protect what they do have. But Roll20, my gut feeling is that you're gonna see the Cypher System core rulebook on Roll20 very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if it's mid-year or by the end of this year for sure. That's my gut feeling. You're gonna definitely see the CSR on Roll20. They already got the rules primer. They got a couple of adventures out just recently. Have any of you guys got to mess with the rules primer on Roll20 yet?
I haven't played with the rules primer. I did look at Castaways on there, and I've looked at it. It's great the way it's set up, character sheets, so on and so forth. The rules primer will be my next thing to look at.
Oh, and you're definitely on the mark there. Because again, I'm positive MCG has been hearing the community talk about the VTT situation. So this is definitely an indication that it looks like they're leaning into, not, I don't want to say a partnership, but a relationship with Roll20, or a bigger one, with the primer, with those couple of adventures. It's not too crazy to think, hey, the rule books are next, like the Cypher System core book, and then followed by the white books and the setting books and so on and so forth. Should it pop off hard enough, I don't know what the metrics are for continuing a project like that, but I can imagine that the Cypher System rulebook, regardless of everything else, is going to be the next thing, and then maybe depending on how well that does, we'll see more books.
Yeah, I definitely think you're going to see the CSR on Roll20 for sure. Like, you know what, and this is just me talking out my ass because I have no idea, but I just think that it's easier for MCG to go to a company like Roll20 and say, hey, look, this is the licensing deal we want to do. Can you make it happen? And Bear will help them out with all the art assets and all that, as opposed to having to be more hands-on. And I think Roll20 actually provides that for them. You know what I mean? Like, we'll do all the conversions for you. You know what I mean? Just give us the product and and then we'll do it. I could be entirely wrong, but that's just the feeling I get.
I agree. I think that might be, possible.
And I think, I think it's not that they don't want to work with Foundry or any of these other VTT companies. I just think that they're not big enough. Like, they don't have enough time in the day to negotiate with every company, so they rather just let me do it with Roll20, and after we're done, we're going to move on to the next company. And there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah, definitely of a size where it would be hard just from a logistics standpoint, to be negotiating deals with these plethora of VTTs there are currently available and people are using. It definitely makes sense to focus on one for the time being.
Or maybe some VTTs just don't want to work out a licensing deal.
Well,
That's also possible too.
you guys also know that as far as like the VTTs are concerned, you're talking about like Foundry and stuff like that. And a lot of people love Foundry. I think Foundry is a great product, but I also think that it really is really dependent on what the staffing and everything else for those companies are too. Because like you said, MCG is not going to be doing it. I mean, they've got the relationship with Roll20 now. I don't really think they're doing the programming for all of their stuff.
I think Foundry, and once again I could be wrong because I'm talking out my ass because I don't. I think Foundry relies more on the actual
users
to create the content.
Exactly. Exactly, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people who use Foundry who are what you call it, programmers of a sort,
But I don't think that they adverse to working with all these other companies. I just think that they're going to concentrate on one and then move on to the next once they feel like they got everything on this one platform.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think they're going to touch everyone else, because Fantasy Grounds has some Cypher system stuff as well. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they Fantasy Grounds is next and they just going through the biggest, like Roll20 is the biggest, and they'll go to Fantasy Grounds and work their way down from according to the user count.
And I'll be honest too, and I could be wrong again, because I bought a lot of VTT stuff, different programs. I've touched them. Fantasy Grounds just doesn't seem as user friendly as Roll20 or even Foundry for that matter. It just doesn't seem the same. But I could be wrong. But again, as we watch MCG continue to grow and flex and evolve, I think we're going to see more VTT support overall.
And I know Cat Hub's gonna be mad at me for this one, but how much VTT do you need for Cypher?
Not a lot. Listen, I'll put it this way. I downloaded for Foundry, I've downloaded the packs, the Numenera pack and the Cypher pack that they have already. And just with the fact that with the CSOL and the CSRD, it's like stupid easy to run everything now because of the PDF importation that Roll20 just started to do. So you got a lot of advantages. Roll20 is just popular. Everybody knows Roll20. Many people have accounts. So that's going to be an easy place for them to grow and shine.
I like Roll20 just one because I'm an old fart and it's the first system I learned, but I just put images up and character sheets. It'll be nice to have the books if all the books are there and you just copy and paste it on your character sheets and but I don't know if I need all the bells and whistles for Cypher system. Right? If I was playing another system, if I was playing Pathfinder 2, yeah, I'm more inclined to use all the bells and whistles. But for Cypher system and Fate and stuff like that, just give me a die roller, a place to throw some images, and a place to store my character sheets, and I'm pretty much happy.
Ken makes a good point here. Sorry, Dean. He says, in all seriousness, in my home games, I don't even use a VTT half the time. I like the bells and whistles for Foundry because I do pretty streamed games. So there is a market for, that stuff for those people, streamers. Like, streamers do need those bells and whistles to make things run more efficiently for their streams. So yeah, there is a market for it. I mean, but as far as actually needing it to run home games, nah. Like it's not.
A couple people bought an Owlbear Rodeo.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's dope.
It's good. It's
Yeah,
really
Albert
good.
Rodeo. I was just getting ready to say that too. And you talk about like the bells and whistles. It's crazy. Like you were talking about not using the VTT at home. I don't, but I actually ran the darkest house at Halloween time here in the house, and I had the darkest house, the actual digital product up on the 75-inch screen TV, the lights down low. That was an awesome experience. But it just depends on what you're doing, depending on what you're going to use. So just throw that out there.
Yeah, I still don't know Foundry that well, and I know I keep on saying I want to learn it, but I do gotta take the time to actually
Well,
learn.
be honest with you, Anthony, it's a easy spent $50. You know what I'm saying? And that's all you pay for unless you decide to buy additional content. And even a lot of that has no cost. Like the Cypher packs and all of that, the Numenera packs, none of those have any additional cost. You know, it's just again getting past the learning curve. So
Kenna brought up something which was our next topic. With the whole debacle that was WotC's war against pretty much OSR, anybody
the community,
everywhere, any place, right? That brought a new spotlight on every other gaming company out there, and Monica Games was no different. They picked up a ton of not only new audience for us, for CanHub, for everybody that was doing Cypher content in the first place, but they also brought up a ton of new Cypher content creators, game designers. It seems like every day we're hearing either on our Facebook group or on our Discord, hey, I'm a designer for this, but now I'm starting to design stuff for Cypher System content, or for Monica Games based on something. CanHub actually had a live stream of all content creators that were not Cypher System, and he ran them through, which was, I watched half of it. It was freaking awesome. I'm gonna finish watching it probably right after the stream. But he had what you call a Destructo Boy, Mr. Taras, all these people that are big channels, but traditionally weren't making contact for Cypher System or making contact for MCG games. So it's like, how do you think that affects not only us, but how do you think it affects MCG as a whole?
I think it's nothing but good. I think it's nothing but good for MCG because even again, you've got people out there, you have some people talking about, oh, they sent me, MCG sent me their books, da 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 da, big content creators, and that's great. MCG will send books to people who are influencers in the RPG realm. But you think about it. This, you take a guy who, let's just say he's got 50,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, and he gets 10% of his people to go out and buy an MCG book. That's 500 books. 5,000 books sold just like that. So I think it's great, and the fact that we're expanding the concept of, the narrative game style, the rulings over rules and all of that kind of stuff. I just think we're going to be in a nice little renaissance.
Yeah, it's definitely nothing but good. Because again, these people I'm blanking on names. You guys know I'm horrible with names, but these the cast of CatHub's chat just stream game today, like Mr. Taras, Indestructible Boy, Discourse. I'm blanking on the others.
Bad Hair
Bad Hair Gaming.
Bad Hair Gaming's played some Cypher System before.
Yeah. All those people, they have subscribers in the thousands. Like some, I don't know the specifics, but I think somewhere in the tens of thousands, even I don't know, already in the hundreds of thousands. Either way, whatever those huge numbers, now that audience is getting a peek at Cypher System, and even like Dean was saying, if a small percentage of them go out and say, "Hey, I'm gonna try this myself," and buy a book, that's wild. It's gonna be an amazing turnover, or whatever word you want to use for that, as far as like getting new customers. Even if they just buy that one book, that's still a sale they wouldn't have made if these people weren't making Cypher product or a Cypher content now.
I mean, if you really look at that, let's just say that, let's just say arbitrarily between all the people that CatHub has on his show, let's just say, that's, I don't know, 100,000 people. 150. That's like 10,000 people. If they get 10%, that's 10,000 new people who are bringing Cypher goodness. Which means if you want to, Anthony, you remember the old commercial? You tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and so on and so on.
I definitely think it's a net positive for sure. One, you get a just like what your guy said, a whole set of new eyeballs looking at this system, and they could fall in love with it the way we have, over the last 5 years, and appreciate the simplicity and complex nature of the Cypher system, which what I think it's the biggest advantage of. It's very simple mechanically, but very complex when it comes to designing a narrative and the tools that it gives you to tell a cool story. But from a person that manages a Discord server, right, it does bring some. It's not always a bed of roses.
Oh no!
But one of the issues is that with most narrative and I hate to use this term, but like indie game groups, right? Because I don't think that's like cool. Like Monaco Games is not an indie group, but it falls under that category, right? There's a certain mindset when running either a game, a campaign, like when people coming from other systems, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a snob or offensive, right? But the min-maxing it's not as prevalent as you would normally see in other systems. The toxicity. Hold on, let me just finish. The toxicity of arguments between fellow members and groups are not as prevalent in the Cypher system community. And I'm not saying that those people are toxic, but when they're used to a certain environment and then come to another environment where it isn't as confrontational, it does require a little bit of discussion beforehand. And I'm not saying from the game perspective, I'm just saying from running a server or running community-based organizations, that it does create some sort of a challenge.
Well, Anthony, and that's that's the negative. You just hit the nail on the head. The negative is that people who are coming in who are gamers from other systems, especially non-narrative based systems, they have a different mentality and have to learn to embrace the paradigm shift, as I like. But the other side of the coin is new players, people who've never played RPGs, who come in and get this experience, are kind of really nice too. But again, like you said, you do have that dichotomy going on of.
Well, and it's not, and like I don't want to make it seem like it in any way it's ungrateful or unwelcoming for anybody to come in. That's not what I was just talking about from the challenges of a moderating perspective.
Oh no, moderating.
No, I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just stating the statement, right?
No.
What I mean is that everyone is welcome to have their game style. There's nothing wrong with the way a game style is played. It's just that I noticed, like with the Cypher community, there was a certain way of like a mindset of like crafting characters. So there wasn't too many addition warring, and I just noticed that when we had a influx of a lot of gamers from other things, that the addition waters started to creep in and all that.
But I can again say this. I want to say thank you to our community, our server, because they've done a massively wonderful job of mitigating those type of situations. Because most of the people who are on the server and who are part of our community are not confrontational, don't look at it through that lens. There's a level of patience that they've used to start helping people move themselves into a different mindset. It's a process, because I mean I have to deal with it even at the game store in person with people
Yeah,
who
I don't like using terms of like changing somebody's mind. It's not to me. It's not about that. It's just about
we don't change their mindset, they change their own mindset, is what I'm saying. But our community, because our community is the way it is, it facilitates that. It helps with people realizing that the idea of optimization is not necessarily a thing. The optimization comes in the storytelling
and like what
versus the
Chad's saying
character.
is like, bringing all these eyeballs in is actually awesome because Cypher System. There's a reason why all of us fell in love with Cypher System because it's such a great system, and the more people that get to notice it, you know how many people like you'll see on Twitter somebody will be like, "Oh, what is this Cypher System? Is it new?" And you want to be like, "Nah, dude, it's been out for 10 years."
Right.
You know what I mean? So to
It's
get all
funny.
these new people watching it and wanting to play it is freaking awesome.
It's funny that you even bring it up, because I literally at the game store doing the demos. I literally say every single demo before we start. I just need to let you guys understand that this is not like your typical, Dungeons and Dragons game, or game where you need to optimize your character. It's literally about what your character is bringing to the story. And that's kind of the concept that I kind of go with. And it takes a minute for people to embrace it, but once they do, it's a good deal.
Yeah,
And you're right. And you're right. Mike said you can play min max and Cypher if you want to, just not his style. And that's very true. You can really build your games along that line if you want
Cypher's
to.
actually fun to min max if everybody's min maxing.
Right. So good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's actually crazy.
yeah,
All the new people that MCG picked up.
and I will say this, and our server is not a super, it's not the marker for anything or anything like that for as far as like growth or whatever, as far as Monte games and people playing Cypher and whatnot. But we've been getting new members like a steady stream like every day. Like it hasn't stopped. Like so new people are definitely being exposed or now finally wanting to see what the hype is about. Yeah, it's nice. And again, with the server, what Anthony said is kind of valid with the toxicity and whatnot. We've seen it in other spaces, but the Cypher Unlimited specifically, everyone is so like mild, even when there's disagreements, like it's talked about in an adult manner, and that kind of like sets the tone for newcomers. So newcomers, they might be accustomed to a certain way of their communities being, and then they come to Cypher Unlimited and they see like, whoa, they're not raging at each other. They're not just like shouting like my thing is better. You're whatever. It's definitely infectious. And again, the only indicator I have to this is in our 5 years or going on 6 years now, we've had to ban maybe 3 people like ever. Like, and that's bonkers. Like, and I'm not
talking about a group of 5,000. That's actually a great.
That's a hell of a statistic.
And I'm not counting bots because there were bot spammers. Those don't count. I'm talking about actual toxic people who were not like they were horrible.
Right.
For the community. 3. That's bonkers. That is actually crazy for over 5 years and approaching 5K members. That is pretty wild. And again, I don't know if that low number of bans is any indication as to how infectious that mild mannered, nice community is, but It's definitely an indication of something. Like we're doing something right. Like the people, not us doing something right. The community is doing something right in that we don't really have to police, so to speak, what people are doing or saying because they're pretty respectful. There's that low toxicity that you don't really see in other spaces.
I kind of want to give credit where credit is due, and I kind of say that is in part due to what MCG created, because they created this idea of telling a story interactively, truly no adversarial. There doesn't even have to be adversary between the GM and the players. It literally puts, agency in the player's hand. The mechanics support the narrative, the abilities, everything that they put together just makes you be less toxic, because now you don't have to go, no, you can't do this, or the rules don't say that. You can literally go, yeah, go ahead. It's so cool. And it takes that fight. It makes the fight go away.
+9. Well, Cypher's probably the most emotionally intelligent system I've ever seen. The one good thing about, which is, it's probably the most accurate statement I read all day today. I think one of the things that was the benefit of this whole OGL debacle is that so many other great companies got pushed to the front, even if it was for a couple of months. So like you have all these great games, Cypher included, that are now getting some recognition when they normally wouldn't have. So like, and I still think that the majority of people are just going to go back to.
Absolutely.
I think they already are. But just for that little bit of time that these people got to at least take off the blinders for, a couple of hours and look at all these other great, fantastic games that are being played, and not only Cypher, there's just a ton of great games out there. Try everything.
Like you said, when it brings attention to other game systems, it brings attention to other games in general. There's nothing wrong with that. That just opens the door to our community and makes it that much better, that much cooler.
We hit in about an hour, guys. This was actually a really fun chat for nothing really.
Yep.
So before we go, anybody out there on the chat, you guys, anybody got a question for any of us real quick? We're gonna throw it out there if you want to ask us something before we get out of here tonight.
Yeah, we have been quite busy these past couple weeks, not just with the backer kit and the giveaway and all that stuff, but personal life stuff. A lot going on for all of us. So
Anthony,
yeah.
they're asking in the chat why me and you haven't had a fight tonight.
I tried. D just didn't bite the hook. He wasn't hungry today. He didn't want to fight.
Aloof and poofed. Why y'all so fine?
I'm laid back tonight.
Wait, aloof and poofed. Why y'all so fine?
I don't know about that.
I definitely don't know about that.
Listen, put me in a ring with Logan Paul if you want to. I'm gonna fuck him up.
Yeah.
I can't stand that dude. I'm gonna beat the dust.
Have you run Engine of the Sun? Jam X Runner's asking about running it for 2 players. I don't know that.
You know what? Again, it depends on how you scale your event. How you scale
Edge
your
of the Sun. Edge of the Sun.
Yeah, but I'm saying it depends on how you want to scale your story, JMX Runner. Scale it, and literally look at it through the lens of the narrative of the story you're telling. Tie it to the player characters, and you'll have a much better time, and that's how I would do it personally. I can't tell everybody, but that's the thought process.
Hey, a quick question for chat. Do you think MCG should put out all those adventures on Roll20 or all those VTTs? Will you think people will get more use out of them?
It would be nice if they did that with the 10-year
anniversary, right?
Like the 10-year anniversary book and the Of course, the new book that's coming out, The Adventures in Cypher System, those would be great to have on Roll20. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, a couple of people in chat said Adventures of Roll20 would sell. I would think so too. Most people like to buy Adventures. You know what I noticed? I buy Adventures even though I never run them verbatim. I still like to buy them.
The nice thing about, again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the nice thing about the adventures in a VTT space is that it comes with everything you need, right? It comes with images and character sheets, and I don't know how in depth they go. Maybe some soundscapes that would be nice to see in an adventure.
I don't think any has soundscapes, but that would be hella cool if they did, though.
Yeah. So it would definitely, it eases prep for the GM. Like now you don't have to go and upload all that shit. It's just there for you.
Well, Old Gods of Appalachia has a soundscape that's coming with it, remember? So they might be changing some stuff around,
No, he was talking about for Roll20.
Right, but I'm saying
they could adapt it to Roll20.
How easy is it going to be for that to be a part of like a Roll20?
Yeah, that would be no problem.
I will say this: I've been slightly disappointed with Roll20's music selection. It's not as good as it used to be. Before they used to have way more options. They seem to have scaled back. Like they have a lot of like sound effects as opposed to just straight music.
Copyright. That's gonna be my only like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And like when you own the soundscape, you can upload that. That's on your account. So that would be stuff like I said, just like the soundscapes for the Darkest House. Yeah. I've used that elsewhere, on more than one occasion. It's great shit, So.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for coming in this chat. This was actually really great. We had a great time. We're gonna have to pick up on get our interviews lined up again. I know there's been I've personally been having a lot of personal issues, which is kind of directly affects the CU, like from a video perspective, not actually recording, but like arranging content. So, but hopefully everything is getting better. And we're gonna start rolling out some better content very soon. And I apologize for being lacking a little bit, but it is what it is.
But you know what? Life happens, and we gotta take that into account too. So.
Yeah.
If you like us and you like what we do, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server for all things Monica games. We have the largest fan-run Discord server with close to 5,000 members and growing. If you want to talk about games, chat about games, play games, run games, or just BS with us, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server. If Discord's not for you, join our Facebook group. It's not as big as our Discord, but there's many great conversations being had there. Please give us a sub here if you can on Twitch or follow, or please go to our YouTube channel. We're very close to 1,200 subs there, and we trying to get our YouTube channel up and popping as much as we can. So please subscribe, like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. We'll greatly appreciate it. Right, our videos are always free, but if you want to help us out financially some way, give us a little donation on Ko-fi. It helps us out with little things like our Zoom course. Or visit our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch like this hat I got on or the shirt Dean got on. We're great. And I don't know when the capes are going to happen, but the capes will happen eventually. And last but not least, we love you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. And Dean, any final words?
Good night.
So yeah, thank you everyone for coming out. It was a great little chat. Especially since we didn't really have anything planned. But yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you around. So from us at the CU, we will see you later.